Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Dialogue. Like I promised you yesterday, we are going to discuss a lot of numbers today about Karnataka elections. A lot of data. And I have with me Amitabh Tiwari, who has done a beautiful analysis, a fantastic data analysis about Karnataka elections that's going to happen on the 10th, what happened before in Karnataka, right from 1980s. He has analyzed it. And let's talk to Amitabh in detail on what exactly is.
Thank you, Sujit.
My pleasure, Amitabh. Always having you is always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Great, and this is the first time I think we are shooting in the studio. So
good.
So fantastic. So I'm going to go right into the questions. Karnataka, they say, is going to be a hung verdict, a hung assembly. Why so?
See, we have to understand the dynamics why Karnataka actually has given 3 out of 4 times in the last 4 elections a hung verdict. What happens is that none of the parties in Karnataka have a statewide presence. Like BJP, for example. BJP is number 1 or number 2, that is winner or runner-up on an average in 165 to 70 seats, and the house strength is 224. That means it needs 113, which is the halfway mark, out of 170 seats. That's why we have seen BJP has never touched the magical figure of 113 in Karnataka.
Correct.
Congress, again, though we feel that Congress has a statewide presence, Congress also is not present in more than 190-95 odd seats. When I say not present, number 1, number 2. Then it also needs to win 113 out of 195. But it has a cushion compared to BJP. And JDS is present only in 75 to 90 seats. That is largely southern Karnataka. So JDS winning the elections, even though he is claiming is a mathematical improbability. He cannot win 113 out of 75 or 90 seats. That's number 1 point. Number 2 is, if we see the caste composition, BJP largely is supported by Lingayats and Brahmins, which is called as Libra there. They are around 20% of the population combined. JDS is largely supported by Vokaligas, which is around 11%. It has no other significant larger vote block. Whereas Congress is largely supported by Ahinda, but it does not enjoy the largest support of the 2 most influential communities, which is Lingayat and Vokaliga. So the Congress also does not have a very broad social coalition because the 2 influential communities know that Congress probably is not going to give them the chief ministerial chair, and they are backing BJP and JDS respectively. And one of the third and the most interesting things is, if you see this southern India political dynamics and landscape, the national parties, which is BJP and Congress, because I consider these 2 as the national parties, they are not number 1 and number 2 parties in most of the states,
right,
except Karnataka
and Kerala.
Kerala, they are number 1. I mean, they are one of them. So here, these parties are occupying both the positions, number 1, number 2. Tamil Nadu, Andhra, they are number 3, number 4, clearly. Telangana, Congress or BJP probably is number 2. And Kerala, of course, Congress is number 1 or number 2, depending upon the environment there. But BJP is number 3. So the regionalism of the southern India or the sub-nationalism, some of the voters want a regional party to have a say in government formation in Karnataka, because that is the only state where regional party is not in dominance. These 3 are the reasons.
Excellent. I want to take this further. You see, India has seen an upsurge of regional parties. Uttar Pradesh dominated by regional parties, of course. Now it is Bharatiya Janata Party, but their main competition is not Congress, but Samajwadi Party and once upon a time Bahujan Samaj Party. Same is the case with most of the states. ठीक है ना, even in Maharashtra, if you see, while Congress was the dominant party, but today after Bharatiya Janata Party, it's Shiv Sena and NCP, and like you rightly said, while NCP is categorized as a national party, but at least still a regional party. So regional party is dominating all over the country, but somewhere down the line, JDS seems to be nowhere. In fact, JDS is deteriorating in Karnataka. What is that? Why is that?
See, JDS was a strong player at one point of time when the original Janata Dal was there. But there is a split happened in Janata Dal. It split into JDS, Janata Dal Secular, which was incidentally formed by Siddaramaiah and Devegowda, and JDU. Ramakrishna Hegade formed his own party, if you remember, called as Lok Shakti. So the Janata Dal has been weakened due to splits, and one of the main you can say protagonist of Janata Dal Secular, which was Siddaramaiah, left the party or was thrown out of the party in 2006. If you recall, in 2004, Siddaramaiah was deputy CM from JDS quota in Congress JDS government. So one of the main pillars of JDS has left the party and has taken a bit of the Kuruba and the other OBC vote block with him. So it has weakened largely due to splits and due to the fact that it represents only a particular community interest, and whenever there are influential communities like Yadavs in the north or Vokaligas and Lingayats in the south, automatically the other castes become antagonistic to them because they dominate the power positions. While we discussed Vokaliga is 11% of the population, 42 MLAs of the assembly belong to Vokaliga community. Most of the parties have given more than 20% tickets to Vokaliga.
But then, Amitabh, Vokaliga today supports JDS, don't they?
Yeah.
But still then...
No, but it is only 11% of the population. So, their game is give 30, 35, 40 seats to JDS because they also know this mathematical improbability that JDS cannot win, but JDS can be the king and not the kingmaker. It can be king if there is a hung assembly. So this community understands this mathematical dynamics and says they don't need to win the state. They just need 30, 35, 40 seats and a hung assembly situation. And one of them, because once BJP and once Congress has offered them the CM chair in the government. So, and none of the other parties, which is BJP or Congress, can give a Vokaliga CM because this time also Shiv Kumar is not projected as the CM candidate. So they know that if they want a Vokaliga CM, then JDS is their best bet.
Before I go to my next question, do you not, don't you see that Kumaraswamy couldn't deliver?
See, Kumaraswamy couldn't deliver because he doesn't have the charisma and the knowledge or the persona of a Devegowda who was earlier the Prime Minister also. He doesn't have a team also perhaps to support him. But he is just playing on this sentiment of the Vokaligas who want to have a big share in the power pizza of, let's say, Karnataka, and that can be delivered by JDS. What happens after Devegowda retires? That's a big question mark. So we'll have to wait and see how the next 5 years pan out for JDS. In the absence of Devegowda whenever he retires, because there are some family feuds also going on in the JDS party. And that is what probably BJP is waiting for. It's something like a Naveen Patnaik in Odisha.
See, Amitabh, you once talks a lot about Vokaliga and Lingayat when it comes to Karnataka politics. In fact, that dominates most of the discussion. Tell me, give me this, make me understand what is this Lingayat factor in Karnataka politics.
See, Vokaliga is again a peasant or a landlord or a chieftain sort of community which is very resourceful and powerful economically. Lingayats have been powerful because of the mutts which are present across the state. And if you recall, in 2018, Siddaramaiah promised a separate religion status also for the Lingayats.
Yes.
So it's a very religious community, tightly linked to each other, and the Mutts play a very important role in the voting pattern of the Lingayats. Surprisingly, the Vokkaligas have only one Mutt, whereas Lingayats have a lot of Mutts. And after 1989, when Virendra Patil was unceremoniously removed, despite giving 178 seats to the Congress party, which is the highest tally of Congress, he was a Lingayat CM. After that, the Lingayats have turned against the Congress, and Yedurappa has emerged as the leader of the Lingayats, and uh, Devegowda, the leader of the Vokkaligas. In between them, Siddaramaiah has emerged as the leader of the Ahinda, which can be classified as Kurubas plus other non-Lingayat, non-Vokkaliga OBCs and SC/STs and Muslims.
Correct. So if that's the case, see now they say Yedurappa is not really very keen with Bharatiya Janata Party. He is not campaigning hard. He is not with them, and so on and so forth. That is what has been told in the last couple of months. Now the point is, end of the day, even today, the research says that Lingayats are still with Bharatiya Janata Party. Okay, more importantly, another interesting report according to your own reports, you say that Bharatiya Janata Party is a combination of Lingayat and Brahmins. Now, how does these two connect?
See, essentially, the upper caste has been historically voting for the BJP.
Yes.
I mean, since the days of 1980s, the BJP has been called as the Brahmin and the Baniya party, if you recall. So now the Lingayats and the upper caste combined, which is around 20%, have been voting for the BJP in Karnataka. But if you compare it with the northern part of India, let's say, in the northern part of India, BJP has been able to consolidate the non-Yadav OBC vote by creating a wedge between the Yadav and the non-Yadav OBC community. Here, the non-Lingayat, non-Vokkaliga OBC, which is around 29%, including Kurubas, still backs the Congress. And since they are the highest number in terms of population, BJP is not able to cross 36-37% in terms of vote share. So the way they have cracked the OBC vote in the northern part of India, they have not been able to crack this OBC vote in Karnataka, and that is why they have not been able to cross the halfway mark ever in Karnataka on their own.
So then are you saying that OBC vote is divided in Karnataka?
See, there is already a division because the two largest blocks are divided. One is voting for the BJP, the Lingayat, because Lingayat is a OBC there.
Correct.
Vokkaligas are voting for JDS. Then the third largest is Kurubas, which is 7%, which is Siddaramaiah's caste. They are voting for the Congress. Then there are this small subcasts, around 200 odd, which actually, as you importantly pointed out, play the role of kingmaker, because a lot of focus is on Lingayat, Vokkaliga, Muslims, but all the caste blocks are already aligned to some or the other party. Lingayat to BJP, Vokkaliga to JDS, Kuruba and Muslims and SCs and STs largely to Congress. The other OBCs, which are around 22%, they swing their voting pattern depending upon the environment and the elections. And they are actually the kingmakers of this election, because whoever they back will actually end up winning
Karnataka. You spoke about Muslims. Tell me, two questions. Why are Muslims with Congress still in Karnataka, where in other places Muslim has moved on from Congress? Number one. Number two is, why couldn't OAC make a dent?
No, see, because Muslims largely feel that Congress is the only party which can protect their interests in Karnataka. While amongst the Muslim community, as you rightly mentioned, there are now divisions. One faction wants to have friendly relationship with the majority community or the majority party. There is one faction which is fairly anti, and there is one faction today which is emerging across India which would vote for the party whoever puts the Muslim candidate. And that is why people like Owaisi, are appealing to this segment of voters, because Owaisi is largely saying that as a Muslim, you are voting for a Hindu of a Congress or a SP or a JDS or a BJD, whatever. And because of this, the Muslim representation in the Lok Sabha as well as across assemblies in India is at an all-time low. So this section of people largely votes for the Muslim candidate, whichever party it's in. Owaisi has not been able to make a dent because the bloc which is anti-BJP, let's say, or does not want BJP to win amongst the Muslims, is still the largest bloc in India. And they feel that Congress is the party which is in position to defeat the BJP and not Owaisi. And by voting for Owaisi, there is likely to be a split of votes, which will ultimately be beneficial for the BJP. JDS also puts up a lot of minority candidates. In fact, it has put a higher number of Muslim candidates than Congress, and they also get around 20% of the vote share. So that also makes it difficult for Owaisi to make a dent, because there are two parties catering to the Muslim community already.
Correct. So because this time around, if you see NDTV survey, they still say that Muslim community, 53% of Muslim community are still voting for the Congress. So that was why this question. Amitabh, I want to get into, which you've also covered in your research, but I want to get into a topic which has been debated a lot in our country: presence versus popularity. A lot of psephologists, a lot of experts say that presence is more important than popularity, or rather, presence gives you popularity. A lot of psephologists say, nay, popularity can win you elections, presence helps. They are not basically, connected. They can be seen in isolation. Now, Karnataka is a very good example. Like you rightly said a while ago, the Congress presence in Karnataka is far higher than Bharatiya Janata Party presence. Bharatiya Janata Party has never crossed the half mark. They have never won an absolute majority. But that being said, Bharatiya Janata Party has come out as the single largest party in Karnataka, including last time. So what exactly is more important? Presence is more important or popularity is more important?
So see, both are important in today's politics.
But are they connected?
And electoral sphere. They are connected in a sense also, because if a leader is popular, he could draw crowds in rallies. But ultimately, on the D-Day, which is the voting day, you need the organizational presence to convert his popularity into votes. Because somebody has to go and knock on the door of the voter and check whether he or she has voted. And if he or she is not in a position economically to go to the booth, then provide the means, which is some sort of transportation, etc., to the voter to take them to the polling booth and get the votes. If you are talking about popularity, see, in state elections, local candidates play a lot of role. Still, people are voting on the basis of a local candidate, and the prime ministerial phase somehow does not play a bigger role or a very important role in state elections. So even if Narendra Modi is very popular, he may not be able to turn the scales in favor of the BJP, because BJP is in power in the state. So a voter will first ask the question, what is the performance track record of this government? See, Modi factor in state elections works when BJP is in opposition, not necessarily when BJP is in power. When BJP is in power, even if you see UP example, it is not because of Modi which the BJP has won. Modi factor. In fact, only 8% people voted for Modi in UP elections, whereas in Lok Sabha, this number is close to 33%.
Correct. So what you're essentially saying is, therefore, that both are equally important, or both could be important according to the situation, or
both are equally important. But the higher the election, when I say higher, let's say general elections, and the the higher the election or the highest tier, let's say, as we go from the panchayat to the Lok Sabha, the popularity of the leader playing a role in the
Perfect.
elections keeps on increasing. Whereas, as you go down the tier from Lok Sabha to the panchayat level, it is the local factors and the image of the local candidate and not necessarily the popularity of the leadership which matters a lot for the voters.
We've been speaking about voters, Amitabh. Amitabh, who exactly is a Bharatiya Janata Party voter in Karnataka?
See, around 40% of the voters of BJP in Karnataka belong to the Lingayat and the Brahmin community. Their population is 20%, but 40% of the voters, 4 out of 10, belong to the Lingayat
So they
and
come
the
out and
Brahmin
vote.
community. So they come out in larger numbers, as you said, 60% plus of both the upper caste, which is Brahmins, including Brahmins, and the Lingayats vote for BJP. So 40% is Lingayat plus Brahmins, and another 20-23% is this non-Lingayat, non-Vokkaliga OBC community also, which votes for the BJP there.
And Congress?
Congress, 40% of voters are Muslims and SCs, and their population is around 30%. So again, a higher turnout of the Muslim and the SC community in favor of Congress.
JDS?
JDS 40% again is Vokkaliga and the Dalits. There's a very interesting thing we have to understand is that when we talk about influential communities, what is influence? Influential communities pull the votes of other castes also along with them. So if there is a landlord, a Vokkaliga landlord, there are hundreds and thousands of workers working in his fields. They might belong to SC, ST, OBC, lower socioeconomic class. They are able to influence the voting decisions of these people also. Around 66 seats, if I am not wrong, have a good Dalit influence. Of that, 15 is won by JDS. So which means wherever Vokkaligas are in larger numbers, they are able to draw the SC community vote also with them, and that is what helps them to win some of these seats or gives them an edge. So 40% of the voters are Vokkaligas and Dalits.
So primarily what you're trying to say is, it's actually looking as if the caste engineering is actually working towards making a government. Does that actually work that way, Amitabh?
No,
okay, let me reframe my question. I'm so sorry to interject. Let me reframe my question. Does the caste make a leader, or does the leader use a caste? Let me put it that way.
See, again, it is like the earlier question you asked about the presence and the popularity. So I would say caste which are influential produce leaders who then are able to attract or build a coalition around their caste. So Narendra Modi belongs to the OBC community. OBC community has the highest population in India. It is debated, some say more than 50%, but let's say even if you go by the conservative numbers, 41-42%. So, and then he has been able to draw under the larger Hindutva umbrella, let's say, and due to his image also, a business friendly image, investment friendly image, nationalism, etc., members of the other caste groups, which is SC, ST, Brahmin. So today, BJP is not only a Brahmin and a Baniya party. Today, it is getting votes, or in the highest number of votes, across caste groups. OBCs, SCs, STs also. So, caste, bigger groups produce leaders who then, from their own charisma and leadership skills, are able to draw or build a coalition around those larger blocks and then produce results which are much larger than their own caste groups.
So Amitabh, there is one thing that you've concluded. What you are trying to tell me is the only group of people who votes on real issues Are the poor the unemployed? Correct? Because they are the only people who will vote on real issues. Because if there is poverty, if there is recession, if there is अगर petrol का price बढ़ गया या gas का price बढ़ गया, तो they are the only people who vote. Okay, the rest are voting because of a certain cause, because of a certain alignment, because of a certain understanding. So who is the poor and the unemployed voting this time?
So you have hit the nail, I would say. We pay a lot of importance to issues in all election debates. But as you correctly concluded, everybody is not voting on issues. Only a certain section of people are voting on issues. Others are voting on caste, development, I like this leader, leadership, party symbol, etc. So in this discussion, we sort of concluded, or why we have pointed to the reasons as to why issues, though debated a lot, are not the only voting consideration. Now, the poor, the unemployed, etc., they are more interested in elections and they vote out in also larger numbers, because we have seen the Bengaluru turnouts compared to the state averages.
Correct.
Is almost less than 15%, because their lives are dependent upon whichever party, or rather their lives are dependent upon the state. This is the Labharti factor, let's say. Correct. So their interest is more in elections. They go out and vote in larger numbers. However, here again, there will be a distinction between a state election and a national election, because they are also very smart voters. They know that a PM Awas Yojana or a Ujjwala Gas Yojana or a Ayushman cannot be stopped if BJP loses in Karnataka, because that is a nationwide scheme. Correct.
Correct.
Now, they will look at the performance of the schemes of the Bombay government or the Bombay plus Yadurappa government, and whether they have been able to deliver those schemes or not. If their claim to fame is only the schemes of the Prime Minister Modi, then they could struggle to win, because they would be then saying or having a debate, most of the schemes which you are talking about or hailing as your achievement is an achievement of the Prime Minister, not the Chief Minister. Correct. And then they will compare the manifesto or the promises, let's say, which both the parties are making. An incumbent cannot make a lot of promises. An opposition party can make, because it can make a promise and go. It's like a hit and run.
Correct.
But an incumbent has to deliver, has to show some track record of delivery. If you remember, the PM Kisan scheme was brought just before the 2019 elections. It was not a manifesto promise, and one installment was actually paid before the first phase of voting.
Correct.
So that's the difference between an incumbent and an opposition promise, and the way the people analyze or judge those promises.
My last question, and obviously my last question is a cliche and a predictable one. Who do you think will win in Karnataka?
See, history, Bombay is battling against history, and history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Correct. So no CM has ever got elected back since the Ramakrishna Hegne in 1985. So he is battling against history. There is an exodus of leaders. There have been corruption allegations. There is high anti-incumbency. And the party sort of is largely dependent upon the Modi factor now in the last few days to pull it through. So here the Congress definitely has an edge. However, given the dynamics which we discussed, a hung assembly cannot be ruled out, because that is how the landscape is divided of Karnataka. And interestingly or mischievously, party which is the SLP may not necessarily be able to form the government. That has happened in Karnataka. In 2004, BJP was the single largest party. Congress and JDS formed the government. In 2018, again BJP was the single largest party, and Congress and JDS formed the government.
So your prediction therefore is we will see a hung assembly. Is that
We
what you're
could
saying?
see a hung assembly because the dynamics of the state is such that it does not favor a single party rule. It wants the regional player also to have a say in the power. There are 131 seats where the BJP and Congress are in direct contest. And for the Congress to win, it has to win a large section of these head-to-head contests.
Excellent. Amitabh, what a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.